Let me start by asking you something important. Have you ever watched someone learn a new skill in weeks while you've been trying for months, maybe years, and still feel stuck? Same books, same videos, same information, yet completely different results. That's not because they're smarter than you. It's because they learned how to learn. Right now, the world is moving faster than ever. Skills expire. Knowledge changes. And the people who win are not the ones who know the most, but the ones who can learn the fastest. If you can master that ability, you gain an unfair advantage in every area of life. In the next few minutes, you're going to discover a simple framework that can help you learn anything up to 10 times faster. Not by working harder, not by studying longer, but by changing the way your brain approaches learning itself. This is not theory. This is not motivation for the sake of motivation. These are principles you can use immediately. Whether you're learning a new skill, building a career, starting a business, or trying to change your life, stay with me until the end, because the final insight is the one most people never hear, and once you understand it, you'll never approach. Learning the same way again. State control speed of learning means that the condition of your mind and body at the moment you try to learn something directly determines how fast and how well your brain absorbs information. Learning is not just a mental activity, it is a full body experience. Your posture, breathing, emotions, and energy level all send signals to your brain about whether the information you are consuming is important or not. When you are tired, stressed, bored, or distracted, your brain goes into survival or standby mode. In that state, it focuses on conserving energy, not on building new neural connections. That is why people can sit in front of a book or video for hours and still remember almost nothing. On the other hand, when your body is alert and your emotions are engaged, the brain releases chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine that dramatically increase focus, memory, and pattern recognition. This is why you remember moments when you felt excited, curious, or emotionally charged much more clearly than moments when you felt dull or exhausted. Your physical state also plays a massive role. Sitting slouched, breathing shallowly, and staying still for long periods reduces oxygen flow to the brain, which slows down processing speed. Simple actions like straightening your spine, taking deeper breaths, or moving your body for even a minute can instantly sharpen attention and improve comprehension. Emotional state matters just as much. When you associate learning with pressure, fear, or self-doubt, the brain treats it as a threat, which blocks creativity and long-term memory. When you associate learning with curiosity, purpose, and challenge, the brain treats it as an opportunity for growth. This is why two people can be EXP, OSD, the exact same information, and have completely different results. One is learning in a powerful state, the other in a weak one. Fast learners don't necessarily spend more time learning. They prepare their state before they start. They decide how they want to feel. They generate energy on purpose, and they approach learning with intention. Once the state is right, the brain naturally becomes faster, sharper, and more efficient at absorbing, connecting, and retaining new information. Clarity eliminates confusion means that the brain learns fastest when it knows exactly what it is trying to achieve. Confusion is not caused by lack of intelligence or effort. It is caused by vague goals and scattered attention. When you approach learning without a clear objective, your brain is forced to process too much information at once, and this overload slows everything down. The mind starts jumping from concept to concept, trying to figure out what matters and what doesn't, and this mental noise reduces retention and understanding. Clarity acts like a filter. It tells the brain what to focus on and what to ignore, allowing it to channel energy in one precise direction. When you define a clear outcome before learning, your brain automatically begins searching for patterns, answers, and connections related to that outcome. This is why people who ask specific questions learn faster than people who passively consume information. Instead of saying, I want to learn this topic, clarity sounds like, I want to understand how this works so I can use it in this situation. That level of precision gives your brain a target, and the brain loves targets. Without clarity, learning becomes reactive. You read what appears next, watch what is recommended, and follow information randomly. With clarity, learning becomes proactive. You decide in advance what success looks like, and every piece of information is judged based on whether it moves you closer to that result. Clarity also reduces frustration. When learners feel overwhelmed, it is often because they are trying to master everything at once instead of identifying the most important 20% that produces the majority of results. By narrowing your focus, you create momentum, and momentum increases motivation. As understanding improves, confidence grows, and confidence further sharpens focus. Clear intention also improves memory because the brain remembers information that feels useful and relevant. When you know why you are learning something and how you will apply it, the brain tags that information as valuable and stores it more efficiently. Two people can read the same material, but the one with clarity will extract insight, while the other will feel lost. Speed in learning is not about rushing, it is about direction. When direction is clear, the path becomes shorter and progress feels natural and effortless. Massive action beats passive consumption, highlights the difference between information and trance. Repetition sends a clear signal that the skill is important, encouraging the brain to invest energy into strengthening the associated neural connections. Purposeful repetition also leverages feedback. When you actively look for what worked and what didn't after each attempt, you turn repetition into a learning loop. The brain thrives on feedback because it allows quick adjustments, which accelerates improvement. Without feedback, repetition becomes blind and inefficient. This is why some people practice for years and remain average, while others improve rapidly in a much shorter time. They are not repeating more, they are repeating better. Purpose also prevents boredom, which is one of the biggest enemies of learning. When repetition feels meaningful, attention stays high, and attention is essential for memory formation. As the brain becomes more efficient through repetition, actions that once required conscious effort begin to run automatically. This frees up mental energy for higher-level thinking and creativity. Mastery is not a sudden breakthrough. It is the result of thousands of small, purposeful repetitions layered over time. Each repetition may seem insignificant on its own, but together they reshape how the brain processes information and executes actions. Purposeful repetition also builds confidence because consistent improvement becomes visible. As skills stabilize, hesitation decreases, and performance becomes more reliable. Over time, what was once difficult starts to feel natural, smooth, and instinctive, not because of talent, but because the brain has been trained through focused, intentional repetition. Teach to learn faster is based on the way the brain organizes and strengthens information when it is required to explain it to someone else. When you prepare to teach, your mind automatically shifts from passive understanding to active structure. You are no longer just consuming information, you are organizing it, simplifying it, and connecting ideas in a logical sequence. This process forces deeper thinking because gaps in understanding become immediately obvious. If you cannot explain something clearly, it reveals that your understanding is incomplete. This awareness pushes the brain to search for clarity, which accelerates learning. Teaching also engages multiple cognitive processes at the same time, including memory recall, language formulation, and critical thinking. Activating these processes together strengthens neural connections more effectively than silent review. When you explain a concept out loud, your brain hears the information again, reinforcing it through auditory feedback. Teaching also adds emotional engagement, especially when you want the other person to understand. Emotion increases attention, and attention improves retention. Even teaching to an imaginary audience or explaining concepts to yourself can dramatically increase comprehension. The act of putting ideas into your own words is crucial because it transforms abstract information into personal understanding. Teaching also encourages simplification, which is a powerful learning tool. When you strip a concept down to its essentials so others can understand it, you are forced to identify what truly matters and discard unnecessary complexity. This creates mental clarity and faster recall. Teaching also introduces accountability. When you know you must explain something, you approach learning with greater focus and seriousness. The brain becomes more alert because it anticipates future use of the information. Questions from others further deepen learning by exposing new perspectives and challenging assumptions. Each explanation strengthens confidence and reduces uncertainty, making the knowledge more accessible in real situations. Over time, teaching turns learning into a cycle where understanding leads to explanation, explanation leads to refinement, and refinement leads to mastery. This is why people who teach often feel like they learn more than their students, because the process of teaching forces the brain to fully integrate and stabilize knowledge at a deeper level. Identity shapes capability, explains how the way you see yourself directly influences how fast and how well you learn. The brain is constantly working to stay consistent with your self-image. When you believe that you are slow, bad at learning, or not intelligent enough, your brain unconsciously looks for evidence to confirm that belief. This limits effort, reduces persistence, and increases emotional resistance when challenges appear. On the other hand, When you adopt the identity of a fast learner, problem solver, or someone who figures things out, your brain begins to operate differently. Identity acts like a command system that tells the brain what behaviors are acceptable and what outcomes are possible. Learning then becomes an expression of who you are, not something you struggle to do. This is powerful because behavior that aligns with identity requires less willpower. When learning is part of your identity, you naturally pay more attention, ask better questions, and stay engaged longer. Identity also affects how you interpret failure. If you see yourself as incapable, mistakes feel like proof that you should quit. If you see yourself as a learner, mistakes become information and feedback. This shift alone can dramatically speed up progress because it removes emotional friction. The brain is highly adaptable, but it responds best when it feels safe to experiment and fail. Identity creates that safety. When you decide, I am the kind of person who learns quickly, your brain begins to search for strategies, habits, and behaviors that support that statement. Over time, repeated actions reinforce the identity, and the identity further reinforces the actions. This creates a self-strengthening loop. Identity also influences focus and motivation. You are more motivated to do what feels aligned with who you believe you are. Lear. Ning stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. Even setbacks lose their power because they no longer threaten your self-image. Instead, they become part of the process. The speed of learning increases not because the brain suddenly becomes smarter, but because resistance disappears. When identity and behavior are aligned, the brain operates with efficiency, confidence, and openness, allowing learning to happen faster, deeper, and with far less effort. So let's bring everything together. Learning faster is not about talent, age, or intelligence. It's about control. When you control your state, your brain becomes alert and ready. When you create clarity, confusion disappears and focus sharpens. When you take massive action, knowledge turns into skill. When you repeat with purpose, progress becomes inevitable. When you teach what you learn, understanding deepens and confidence grows. And when you change your identity, learning stops being a struggle and starts becoming who you are. These are not complicated ideas, but they are powerful when practiced consistently. Apply even one of them and you'll notice a difference. Apply all of them and learning becomes faster, easier, and more natural than you ever thought possible. The moment you change how you learn is the moment you expand what you are capable of achieving in life. Thank you for spending your time here and investing in your growth. I wish you clarity, focus, and unstoppable progress on your journey. Good luck, and remember, the ability to learn faster is the ability to create a better future.